Good afternoon, Zimbabwe, and welcome to Zimbabwe Daily. My name is Yvonne Muchak, and I do hope I find all of you well. Today is day 24 of the level 4 national lockdown, and I hope you're keeping yourself safe, you're masking up. Remember, the mask will only keep you safe, the next person safe, to keep each other safe in this global pandemic. So like I said, today is day 24. I don't need this because I'm all alone in the studio. So today, 4 of the level 4 national lockdown, we remain under lockdown, ladies and gentlemen. So it is very vital that we ensure that we maintain social distance, we wash our hands with soap and water, and that we are always social distancing. Right, so at 2 p.m., we're going to be streaming to you live the address by the People's President, Advocate Nelson Chamisa. This address was supposed to happen at 11, but unfortunately, we were having a bit of a technical glitch, so we were unable to cross over to where the address was taking place. However, we have been told that the technical problem has been sorted out, and we are hoping that by 2 p.m. we will be live on all our platforms. Right. So yes, we hope to be live on all our Zimbabwe Daily platforms as we bring to you that live coverage from Advocate Nelson Chamisa. In the meantime, as we take a look at what is happening on the media landscape, so at the High Court, Alan Moyo was denied bail today, and the only problem that is making him being denied bail is that Alan Moyo is being charged with inciting the public to commit violence. So this 23-year-old is behind bars because on the 3rd of July in 2020, he said to some commuters at Copacabana that they needed to enforce change. He was arrested on 7 December on allegations of inciting the public to commit violence after he called on to revolt against President Emerson Mnangagwa's government. So it's a long wait for Alan Moyo before he can get his bail. So he remains in custody, and we take a look at other stories. We have got Job Sikala's bail appeal judgment set for next week. He remains detained at Chikorobi Maximum Prison, and he is on bail for allegedly commenting on a video, for allegedly communicating falsehoods after he commented on a video that alleged that a police officer had killed a baby in Harare. So he faces the same charges as MDC Alliance spokesperson Fadzai Mahere, who was granted bail, and also Hopo Chingono, who was also granted bail. So we wait to see how the judgment will go next week. We've also seen a concern being raised. Yes, the vice president was conducting the burials of the 3 national heroes yesterday at the Heroes Acre, and the acting president warned the citizens to remain cautious and adhere to set regulations as the country battles the global COVID-19 pandemic. So this was happening yesterday at the National Shrine. So we continue to wait for our feed as we want to cross over to the address by the MDC Alliance president, the alternative government, as they say. So we want to make sure that our feed is all right. We were supposed to come to you earlier, but unfortunately there was a technical glitch. So the address has been moved to 2 p.m., which is 10 minutes from now. And whilst we wait for the team to get things in order, we just want to take a look at some of the issues that have headlines. And I think the whole COVID-19 issue remains really fundamental and critical that as a nation we move beyond where we are. We heard that help is on the way, according to the president, Edim Nangagwa. He said that help is on the way. And we are also informed that this by the Dr. Portia Manangazira, who is of epidemiology. She's the Director of Epidemiology and Disease Control in the Ministry of Health and Child Care. And she said that the vaccine will cost something between $2.50 and $7. So we await to know which vaccine the nation is actually considering to take. But we continue to look at some of the issues that have been making headlines. ZAC goes after testing centers issuing fake COVID-19 certificates. So there was news going around on our social media that different laboratories were issuing fake COVID-19 tests. We also saw some people writing on their own online platforms that they'd gone to a particular laboratory, they got tested, the results came positive, but they were asked to pay another amount of money to the tune of between $30 and $60 in order for them to get a negative diagnosis. So the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption has said that it is going after the multiple testing centers following reports showing that more labs are involved in issuing fake COVID-19 test certificates. Recently, it emerged that staff members at Closed Clinical Diagnostic Lab were issuing fake COVID-19 certificates at a fee. ZAC spokesperson, Commissioner John Makamore, said the commission was concerned with this scam network, which seems wide and was also derailing efforts to curb the spread of the virus. I mean, seriously, this is a very serious issue, and we cannot afford to have testing centers issuing fake COVID-19 tests. This is a fight that we all have to participate in. What is it that causes us to want to buy a fake negative result? I think it's important, if I know that I'm COVID-19 positive, I take the relevant steps and remedies in order to keep myself and to keep the next person safe. So this whole incident of fake results is actually quite worrisome. So we need to ensure that something is done in order to curb this virus. It's real. We thank God that we've had a minimal number of infections, but by the end of each day, we continue to see the numbers growing. We do not need this as a country. We need to minimize the effects, and we need to minimize the consequences of letting COVID-19 run riot in our country. I think we have seen from what is happening in France, in the European Union, in different countries, especially in the West, how they are grappling with COVID-19. And we need to ensure that we all play a role in fighting and watching what will be happening. So we continue to follow proceedings on site. As soon as we have a link, we'll be able to come to you live. So any moment from now, we should be able to come to you live from wherever the people's president will be issuing this statement from. So we expect him to speak on the global pandemic and what the MDC says are the alternative solutions to this pandemic. We continue to just check on our pages on what is happening. So we should be bringing that feed live, right. Right. All right, so I'm getting a little bit of communication from the other side, so we should be able to get a link this live production. We want to make sure that it is fully covered. Sometimes when there's no communication, we fail to find some of these live productions. Right. So yeah, we saw another letter being issued today. People are flouting the COVID-19 regulations. A lot of shops have opened. There are so many people in town. Unlike when the first day of COVID-19 was announced. So we've seen the police writing to its different districts to tighten enforcement and issuance of business confirmation and exemption letters. Right. So the letter reads, repeated hereunder is Chief Staff Officer Operations Memorandum number 18421 dated 22 January 2021 with the above subject. It has been noted that some individuals and businesses are now operating in violation of Statutory Instrument 10 of 2021, which bade all non-essential service providers to operate during the current level 4 of national lockdown. Some companies which are not in the category of essential service, such as Butter Shoe Company, Bola Hardware, furniture and clothing shops, are conducting business on the strength of letters issued by the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and International Trade. Commanders should take note of the following. Companies and businesses not in the category of essential service but operating should close. This is regardless of being in possession of exemption letters. The guiding principle is the Statutory Instrument 10 of 2021, which is very clear on which industry or service provider should be operated and is exempted from the national lockdown. No vehicles should be allowed to pass a checkpoint if they are not in the category of essential services. So this issue remains very, very fundamental and clear as it were. So yes, we're hoping that any moment from now, we should be able to cross over to the address, fight against COVID address to the nation by the People's President, Advocate Nelson Chamisa. He is the leader of the MDC Alliance, the alternative movement in Zimbabwe. So we are expecting to get some bites from that particular live feed coming through any moment from now. So yes, thank you so much for joining us on Zimbabwe Daily. Thank you so much, Lazy Junior. Before you say Korine Basare COVID certificate racho, it's really important if you're traveling to other countries that you have a COVID-19 certification. If you're not traveling, then essentially let's just stay home. So if you are traveling or if you're part of the essential services, it's important that you get your COVID-19 testing done. I think yesterday you saw some of the journalists who went to cover the burial of the heroes yesterday. They were tested for COVID-19. It's really important that we get tested. So we are continually waiting for the link coming in as we get the state of, well, rather the fight against COVID addressed to the nation by Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Thank you so much for joining us right here on Zimbabwe Daily, right? So we also understand that Zinara is set to introduce dual pricing at toll gates, right? The Zimbabwe National Road Administration said that it will soon introduce dual pricing at its toll gates scattered across the country, Zinara said in a statement following the announcement in the 2021 national budget by Finance Minister Professor Mthuli Ncube that toll fees can now be collected in foreign currency. Zinara will soon introduce dual pricing at toll gates. Under the proposed structure, light vehicles will pay $2, minibuses $3, buses $4, heavy vehicles $5, haulage trucks $10, and the residential discount will be set at $10 per month, said Ncube. In addition, toll fees for foreign registered vehicles will be payable in United States dollars or equivalent in other foreign currencies using the above rates. So that is the development that is happening at the toll gates. If you are set to travel intercity, make sure that you are loaded with the relevant amounts. You can pay in our TGS currency, but you can also pay in United States dollars. And if your vehicle is a foreign registered vehicle, no excuse, you're going to pay in United States dollars or equivalent in other foreign currency. So that means if you have got your rands, if you've got your pula, if you have your kwacha, I'm not sure about pounds, but yeah, that is what is happening at the roadblocks. So we are waiting for the feed. We're waiting for the feed to come from this, so that we're able to connect on the state, the COVID-19 address. So we're just waiting for them to come on board, or some. Right. There we go.
Fellow Zimbabweans, I come to you in circumstances of extreme national emergency. We have an extraordinary situation in our country. We are facing an extremely challenging national outlook. The COVID-19 pandemic is wreaking havoc in every family, every hamlet, every village, every suburb, and in every community. But remember, every COVID-19 statistic is a human being. Every other day, we are losing another friend, another workmate, another relative, another leader, or another Zimbabwean. Just as of yesterday, Zimbabwe recorded beyond a 1,000 mark of deaths. We have now recorded 1,075 deaths to date. Our figure for those who have tested positive is to date over the 30,000 mark. My condolences to those who have lost their loved ones. My condolences to those who are in mourning. We also continue to pray for those who are not feeling well. Get well soon. Our God is able. You will be healed. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Let us at this juncture observe a minute of silence in honor of our dear departed. We define a collective future. You remember that on the 30th of January 2020, the Director General of the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus disease COVID-19 outbreak a public health emergency of international concern under the International Health Regulations of 2005. Zimbabwe reported its first official COVID-19 case on the 20th of March 2020. Since then, a lot has happened, a lot has been done, and of course, we have had stories to tell. We appreciate the various initiatives by different stakeholders and government. The response of the Ministry of Health in particular and the government in general is noted and appreciated. Various initiatives have been instituted to ameliorate and improve the situation. In this regard, we salute our warriors, our nurses, our doctors, our healthcare workers, who have been standing and outstanding as a battalion of patriots, as national zealots, for their courage and ingenuity for our country. And we remain in debt to them and to their families. We thank you. We appreciate you. To their families, we thank you. You have given us soldiers. You have given us patriots and compatriots. We wish also to thank our environmental health professionals who are doing contact tracing, our port health officers, lab scientists who are running the tests, general hands who are cleaning the wards and housing the COVID patients, among many other healthcare workers. We also honor our police, military, our soldiers, prison and intelligence services, including all those who are offering essential services in various sectors. We salute our information and communication practitioners, the media, our journalists, for the great work in spreading the information on COVID-19 and keeping the nation informed on this deadly pandemic. We wish to thank our international community across the globe, the United Nations, the EU, the USA, the UK, and China, among many other countries that have continued to play a pivotal role to work with us hand in glove and work with us shoulder to shoulder to make sure that we deal with this pandemic. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, fellow countrymen, to also thank our neighboring countries, in particular, South Africa, Botswana, Mozambique, Malawi, and Zambia, for bearing the burden of diaspora citizens on our behalf. We thank you. We also wish to thank our wonderful citizens in the diaspora. You have done us proud. We thank those who have been donating PPEs, those who have been assisting hospitals, particularly in Mulawayo, Matebele South, Kwekwe, Chitungwiza, Wange, to mention but a few. I've taken note of your efforts. It has come to my attention that you continue to assist your country. Thank you. I'm glad for the great effort that is being done by these citizens, and I'm hoping that it will remain so. I'm also happy that it's not being politicized. There is no partisan agenda. This kind of effort cannot be reduced to partisanship. We also want to thank you, the individual volunteering citizens. We have been exceptional in creative ways to help citizens, to help Zimbabweans. They're excellent.
Right, so we seem to be having another connection issue, but we'll continue trying to bring you that address. It is not from this end, it's
Any
their
project
end.
that has created a quarantine center is also a case in point. We have seen the projects in Harare by individual citizens, corporates, and those who are coming from a humanitarian perspective. Thank you for your selfless service and sacrifice. Let me also thank the people at home. Let me thank you all, my fellow countrymen. You are exceptional. You are wonderful people, Zimbabwe. The great Zimbabwean people, you never fall short. Service and sacrifice. Let me also thank the people to extent. We posit and propose this policy mix and alternative plan to shed light on how citizens' development is customized and tailored to the circumstances, competencies, and capabilities of our great nation. COVID-19 emerging issues in Zimbabwe are multiple, but I will raise about 7 of them. The first one, the capacity of our health institutions. With COVID-19 cases almost tripling in the last weeks, our hospitals are overwhelmed, failing to cope with the number of COVID-19 infected patients, requiring our hospital admissions to be undertaken. We know that 10 to 15% of all cases will progress to severe illness, and approximately 5% of cases will become critically ill. This is according to the expert advice I got from our experts, because I consult doctors and medical practitioners on all these matters. The average daily cases over the past 2 weeks in Zimbabwe are around 700 cases. This means that between 70 to 105 people per day may progress to severe disease, which may require hospital admission. These numbers are too high for our health infrastructure to cope with. And as a result of our capacity to handle these severe cases of COVID-19, we seem to have been surpassed, resulting in suboptimal and in some instances, non-existent emergency services for people with severe COVID-19. Parenya Atwa has had to increase COVID-19 wards this last week. This may be one of the reasons for the high death rates that we have seen and been witnessing over the past weeks. There is need to urgently increase the bed capacity in public hospitals so that patients with COVID-19 have access to oxygen therapy, as well as ventilators for those who are critically ill. The services that are needed have to be decentralized and become available in all our provinces and all our corners of the country. The situation is not good at all. Access to the bed and oxygen therapy must be more readily available across the country. But at the moment, our resources are strained. The second point on lockdown. Whilst we take the lockdown as a welcome initiative and move to try and minimize the rate of the spread of infections, there is need to effectively implement the lockdown. Studies have shown time and again that it is better to implement a short, sharp, but effective lockdown rather than a prolonged marathon lockdown, as compliance with lockdown regulations goes down with a prolonged marathon lockdown. The unavailability of social safety nets for the vulnerable, considering our heavily informalized economy, means that a lot of our people will be forced to breach lockdown regulations in search of food, water, survival, livelihoods, and even money to cater for their families. This again reduces the effectiveness of the lockdown. We must be careful not to flatten the economy in our bid to flatten the curve. We face the risk of a lockdown-induced poverty, which is actually a dangerous type of poverty. We do not want to impoverish our citizens. We need to nourish our citizens, uplift them, and make sure that we open opportunities for them at all material times. It is desirable and advisable to adopt other approaches to a lockdown. We could consider a partial lockdown instead of a holistic lockdown. A partial lockdown or a lockdown that is zonal or staggered, so that we do not just go into a one-size-fits-all. Lockdowns are not meant to be permanent solutions or a one-size-fits-all. There is need to create a lockdown exit strategy, but also a lockdown strategy that is viable and that is peculiar to our own circumstances. We reiterate, as a matter of emphasis, that contrary to the wholesale, unstructured, and panic-induced or driven shutdown, we would pursue an alternative path that saves lives, protects livelihoods, preventing our economy from collapsing, and saving our people from hunger. We believe that it is important. I'll go to the third point that is an emerging issue: testing and screening. Our neighbors in South Africa have done a great job in trying to test and screen, just like what was done in Australia, in New Zealand, and other countries across the world. South Africa have reported a new variant of the SARS-CoV-2 virus being named B1351. This strain has been shown to be more transmissible. It is more transmissible than the overall and original COVID-19 virus, with people coming into Zimbabwe for the festive season, which in my view was an error. We made a mistake because Christmas and the festive season was actually a super spreader. We could have used other methods to make sure that our borders were not porous and allow reports and not allow reports of invalid or fake COVID-19 certificates to wreak havoc in our communities. There's now a likelihood that that strain may have been imported from other countries. So we need to be able to deal with this. Health professionals are reporting difference in clinical presentations between the first wave and the current wave of infections, as well as the high rate of false negative results on PCR tests. This is an indicator that we might be dealing with a different strain of COVID-19 virus. There is need for us to conduct tests, or through the help of other countries like our neighboring South Africa and Botswana, if we cannot conduct the genetic testing of the virus to ascertain what type of virus we are now dealing with. Information is power. Facts are important. Facts are an advantage. We also welcome the availability of COVID-19 rapid antigen tests, which have been shown to be more for our health services. In fact, we must make it free for COVID-19 patients. People can't afford to be tested at $65 just for testing. People can't afford to be admitted into hospitals for $2,000 to about $5,000, especially in private hospitals, particularly for those who are in serious conditions. We must decentralize testing, and the rollout. Free testing to rural areas must be provided. Growth points, townships must be centers of testing, including all clinics and hospitals across our countries. Let me now turn to the fourth issue on health workers, their welfare, and their capacity. As you may know, our health workers have done a fantastic job, but they've done it under very extreme circumstances of hardship. We've been seeing our especially in private hospitals, particularly for those who are. They've done it under very extreme circumstances of hardship. We've been seeing our frontline workers fighting this pandemic. However, and their capacity. As you may know, our health workers have done a fantastic job, but they've done it under very extreme circumstances of hardship. We've been seeing our frontline workers fighting this pandemic. However, in order for them to effectively do their job, they need to be capacitated with the necessary tools of trade. According to the Health Service Board, over 1,500 workers, health workers, have already been infected with COVID-19, and 7 deaths have been recorded. This is sad, and may their souls rest in peace. The intermittent and chronic shortage of PPEs is one of the reasons why we have recorded this huge and 7 deaths have been recorded. This is sad, and may their souls rest in peace. The intermittent and chronic shortage of PPEs is one of the reasons why we have recorded this huge number of health workers getting infected. Recently, and in other hospitals in Bulawayo and also with COVID-19, and 7 deaths have been recorded. This is sad. And in other hospitals in Bulawayo and also in Manicaland. PPE should be readily available in order to at least offer protection to our frontline workers. Shortage of health workers is continue losing health workers either through deaths or through absenteeism from work when infected health workers undergo their mandatory isolation periods. We need adequate workers need support. They need our love. They need our comfort. They need national comfort from government. Number 5, the continuous care for other conditions they need our love. They need our comfort. They need national comfort from government. Number 5, the continuous care for other conditions in health. Whilst the attention and focus is on combating COVID-19 pandemic, there's need to continue providing care for other health conditions so as to avoidable morbidity and mortality from other illnesses. Recently, Parenyato Hospital support. They need our love. They need our comfort. They need national comfort from government. Number 5, the continuous care for other conditions in health. Whilst the attention and focus is on combating COVID-19 pandemic, there's need to continue providing care for other health conditions so as to avoidable morbidity and mortality from other illnesses. Recently, Parenyato Hospital announced that they are scaling down chemotherapy services. And also, this is being seen at there's need to continue providing care for other health conditions so as to avoidable morbidity and mortality from other illnesses. Recently, Parenyato Hospital announced that they are scaling down chemotherapy services. And also, this is being seen at their radiotherapy center. This severely compromises access to care for cancer patients, as there are only 2 institutions in the public sector offering such important and vital services in the whole country. Measures need to be put in place to make sure that services for chronic conditions such as HIV, diabetes, hypertension, mental illness measures need to be put in place to make sure that services for chronic conditions and on the African continent. Let me turn to the issue of super spreaders. Fellow countrymen, we have realized that funerals and congested places on the African continent. Let me turn to the issue of super spreaders. Fellow countrymen, we have realized that funerals and congested places like prisons have become
Oh my word, we seem to be having serious technical glitches. We're not having a very clean live feed right now. I'm not exactly sure what could be happening. Maybe if we can maybe all migrate to the Facebook page, the Zimbabwe Daily Facebook page, from where we are getting this
dead
stream.
zones. They've become serious super spreaders. Our prisons, in particular, have become COVID super spreaders, hotspots, and zones. This is an issue we need to address with immediate agency and extreme and extraordinary fixity of purpose. Allow me, fellow Zimbabweans, to touch on a
Right. So we seem to have a serious challenge coming through from the other end. We will keep checking with them how far they are in order for us to be able to resume this live broadcast. All right. So if we fail to actually have the full footage, we'll just hopefully get the footage and then upload it much later, so that we're able to hear what the people's president has had to say. Yeah. We seem to have lost that feed. We seem to have lost that feed. But all the same, we can have a conversation around the matters that has been raised by the advocate, the issue of taking care of our essential workers and making sure that they have the correct PPEs. He spoke on a number of issues to do with COVID-19 certification against the fears that have been making rounds in the media. He has managed to highlight on those. Yeah, we'll keep trying to get back our feed.
things that are imposed on us. Zimbabwe needs to avail funds to development, manufacturing, and procurement of COVID-19 solutions. We have the brains, we have the expertise, we have the skills, we have the people.
All right, so we seem to be failing to connect there. So, what we're going to try to do is to bring back a rebroadcast of that live production. I'll just allow our team to record the speech and then we repost it so that we are able to follow what Advocate Nelson Chamisa was and is saying right now. So today is day 24 of the national level 4 lockdown. We wonder how we are going to proceed after the 4th of February, and how the cases will be.
Want to care to also get our idea.
No, it's not working. So we apologize for that interruption.
They've developed papers on our post-COVID strategies to be able to respond to the economy and return back to work, and how children could also be brought back to school within the shortest possible of time. COVID has disrupted teaching method that must be fully explored and scaled up using platforms such as the television, radio, and also dealing with the cost of data so that it is subsidized for our students who are supposed to benefit through online learning. And scaled up using platforms such as the television, radio, and also dealing with the cost of data so that it is subsidized for our students who are supposed to benefit through online learning. In the rural areas, we need radio because on
All right, since we're having this much trouble with the connection, do bear with us. I think we're going to just rebroadcast it on Zimbabwe Daily so that we get the full speech without the glitches. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Yvonne Muchaka and I'm signing out from the studio. Join me again in a bit.